Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Bhagavana Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupa Sadrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Sajivam Sadhaitam Zavadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam. So, and this is very, very auspicious occasion, initiation ceremony. Initiation means beginning. These 6 devotees are now formally entering into their relationship as disciples of the spiritual master and formal entrance into the Sampradaya, connecting with all the acharyas now by a firm vow. This diksha is absolutely essential for one who wants to go back home, back to Brahma. The vow will explain that without initiation, one cannot go back to Brahma. So, what is the position of initiation along the pathway of bhakti? Rupa Goswami described 9 different stages of achieving pure devotion. The first step is to have faith, shraddha. And then, after one has faith, the next thing is one becomes interested to associate with pure devotees of the Lord, those who are strictly following the path of Krishna consciousness. And then in that association, one sees what the devotees are doing, how they practice Krishna consciousness, what is the system for becoming purified. They learn so many things by that association, how to chant the beads, how to offer the food, how to bow down before the deities, bow down before Guru, bow down before Vaishnavas. They learn so many things by associating with devotees. And the next step is, now that they've abide all of those different processes by association, now it's time for them to take it seriously and do it themselves. So this initiation takes place as the third step. It's called bhajana kriya, when one takes up the activities of bhakti. In this connection, Rupa Goswami emphasizes the importance of this step. He says, Adao Varashvayam. The very first step is to take shelter of the bona fide spiritual master by initiation. And then what do you do then? Is that now your business is finished? I'm initiated, I can do whatever I want? No. When you enroll in the university, does that mean you have a degree? You don't have to study, you don't have to do your, to attend the lectures, you don't have to sit for exams. No. When you're registered in the university, now you're committed to doing all the assignments, going to the lectures, writing the exams, etc. So initiation means now you're committed. You've made this vow, you've made this commitment for the fire, for the deity, for the Vaishnavas, for Prabhupada, who's on the altar here as well, for Guru. You've made this commitment. Now it's a very, very solid vow. And now I will take the order of my spiritual master as my life and soul. I will always meditate on his instructions. And I will try my level best to always carry them out. So this process then, coming to the level of bhajana kriya, now it continues to grow and expand. It's like a blossoming lotus flower. Continues to blossom and expand. After this bhajana kriya, in which one becomes initiated, then what happens? You become free from so much contamination within the heart. Of course, there's a certain amount of contamination you have to get free from even to get initiated. Then someone who's getting initiated, that means for at least 1 year they've been chanting 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day on their japa mala meeting. It means that they've given up illicit sex, they've given up meat, intoxication, and gambling. So these anarthas are already finished at the time of initiation. So why is it said anartha nivritti comes after initiation? Because there's a lot of subtle dirt in there too. There's lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and envy. We have these accumulations of subtle contaminations going back for millions and millions of lifetimes. It's very thickly encrusted crud. So it doesn't come off just like that. It takes hard work. You have to meditate every day on Krishna's holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You have to try to do your devotional activities in a mood of devotion, not just mechanically to get it over with. Every single service that's given by Guru, by Vaishnava, you should take that as a great blessing. This is an opportunity for me to connect myself in love with Krishna and the acharyas who represent him. So every single service, whether I'm sweeping the floor, whether I'm offering an arti, distributing a book, raising my child in Krishna consciousness, whatever service I may have, I should take this as an opportunity to connect with that person. Who was that person? Krishna. Is Krishna present? Yes. Can we see him? Well, in deity form we can. In our neophyte stage, we cannot see Krishna directly face to face. But he is present, he is fully present. So this qualification to be able to see Krishna is that one's eyes are anointed with the salve of love. This is described by Brahmaji in the Brahma Samhita. Premanjanachadita bhakti valochanena samtaksadaiva hridayeshu valokayanti yam shamasham yamachitya vanasvarupam govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. When one's eyes are anointed by the salve of love of God, and you can see Krishna everywhere, within and without. So this process of initiation is part of that anointing in the eye of the salve of love of God. It's a vital step to get this medicine injected. Requires initiation. To get the full injection of the medicine requires initiation. So by this process, chanting Hare Krishna, following the rules. This is very important to follow the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga. Some devotees say, well, the rules aren't very important, just go into spontaneous love. Just jump into Raga Marg, spontaneous love. Why bother with so many rules and regulations? That's for the neophytes. Just be an advanced devotee and jump into Raga Marg. If you hear someone preaching like that, you should understand this is Sahaja philosophy. You can't enter Raga Marg until you're completely free, that's spontaneous love, you see, until you're completely free from all the contamination within the heart. You have to become a liberated soul. So don't think that you don't have to follow the rules and regulations. Just like if somebody's in the hospital, what are they there for? They get healthy. In their healthy state, they can eat whatever they want. They can have ice cream, cake, pie, pizza. When they're in the hospital in a sick condition, they are on a very restricted diet. You see. The person who is sick in the hospital cannot imitate the diet of a healthy person. So now we are sick. We are contaminated with lust, with envy, with the material contaminations. So we have to follow strict rules and regulations. We have to strictly avoid illicit sex, eating, intoxication, and gambling. We have to rise early. We have to bathe the body. We have to shave the face. Keep the face clean shaven. Now these are the instructions given by Srila Prabhupada. So if we follow, observe the Kadasi, observe Janmashtami, so many wonderful, wonderful procedures and formulas have been given to us by Prabhupada. We don't need to add more and more, but just whatever Prabhupada has given, we should do that in a first-class way. Very first-class way. Because by this process, gradually, the anartha, that dirt, becomes loosened and it becomes expunged from the psyche, from the consciousness. This process does work. It's not some ritual. This is a scientific process of clarifying your consciousness. Just like you can take butter, and by boiling it, you can turn it into pure ghee. Well, it's called the impurities of the butter. You see. They come out and then you're left with ghee. So this is now you're on the fire. You're boiling on the fire. Initiation means now I'm sitting down on the fire and I'm going to boil. And let all those impurities come out. So I become a ghee-like consciousness, free of all impurities. It's very auspicious to take this diksha. Prabhupada actually told us in Los Angeles, I have the exact quote here, he says, this was on 5 January 1974. Prabhupada says, deathlessness begins from the day of initiation. As soon as you take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, your point of deathlessness begins immediately. And if you continue the advice and instructions of the spiritual master of the Shastra, then you become deathless, no more death. So Prabhupada says, or the Shastra, that means you can neglect the spiritual master and just serve the Shastra? Is that what Prabhupada means? No, the Shastra says you have to serve the spiritual master. So whether you follow the spiritual master or the Shastra, it's the same thing. Because the spiritual master is giving you the Shastra instructions. So, just think, what does this mean? You become deathless from the very day of initiation. What does that mean? Now it means you are firmly establishing yourself as that spiritual entity who is the eternal servant Krishna. Now you're going to live in that consciousness at every moment. From the moment you wake up in the morning, you can sleep at night, even in your dreams. As you advance, your dreams will become surcharged with Krishna consciousness. It means now you're going to act in the capacity of being Krishna's servant, no longer a servant of your material senses. So, if you take this initiation as the commitment, the one commitment of your eternal existence, this will liberate you. This will bring you to the transcendental platform. Now you're entering into your eternal spiritual identity. But if you break the principles, if you violate the principles, you fall down to that position. You enter in the world of death once again. So if you want to be immortal, if you want to be deathless, now these vows you're taking today, you must never deviate from ever for all eternity. And if you do that, you remain deathless. You remain eternally deathless. So on these days, Prabhupada wanted that the 10 offenses to be avoided about chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra should be discussed. One may say, well, isn't just following the 4 rules and chanting 16 rounds enough? Why do we have to bring in the 10 offenses on such a festive day, the initiation day? Well, the fact of the matter is, you can chant 16 rounds for millions of lifetimes and not go back to Godhead if you haven't learned to avoid the 10 offenses. So I mentioned Nartana Vritti. Okay. You're already giving up illicit sex, eating, intoxication, and gambling for a whole year just to sit in the ceremony. But now, how are you going to enter Nartana Vritti, the next stage after Bhajana Kriya or initiation? How are you going to enter that? by learning how to avoid these namaparas. By avoiding these namaparas, now you will fulfill the true meaning of anartha nivritti. Anartha means those unwanted dirts in the heart, nivritti means getting rid of. So these 10 offenses are very important because these will avoiding these 10 offenses will carry you to the next stage, anartha nivritti. It's very, very important to know these 10 offenses and to strictly avoid them. And the first one is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives to propagating the holy name of the Lord. That means we should always respect the devotees. Always have a respectful attitude towards Vaishnava. And we should show that in our dealings too. We should always show respect to other devotees. Now sometimes we disagree with each other. Someone says the deity should wear a red outfit today. Someone says, no, a green outfit today. So that means they become disrespectful because they have a different opinion? No. Even if we have differences of opinion, that must be we must have respectful difference of opinion. Very important thing. We must always keep that respect for the devotees. And that way we won't blaspheme the devotees. The second offense is to consider the names of demigods, like Lord Shiva or Lord Rama, to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. Not that we can chant Shiva Shiva or Durga Durga. It's the same thing. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The demigods are simply subordinate assistants of the Lord who work within this particular material universe to engage in the activities of the functions of the universe. It's like Indra brings the rain. There's actually 33 million demigods, and they all have different departments of duty. Just like when you blink your eye, I just saw you blink your eye. It's under control of some demigod. Because the demigod is in charge of your eye blink. So in every little aspect of this material creation is under some demigod's direction. So to try to placate all the demigods doesn't make sense. I mean, how long would it take you to do 33 million pujas? Satisfy 33 million demigods. And what if you leave, one of them out? What do you think? So instead of trying to serve the demigods, who are just assistants of the Supreme, just serve Krishna directly. When you water the root of the tree, all of these events have been nourished. When you eat, every part of your body needs food, doesn't it? Your ear needs nutrition, so do you rub the food in your ears? No. You put the food in your belly. By giving the food to your belly, then that energy is distributed to every single part of your body. So all we have to do is surrender to Krishna. All we have to do. And the way to surrender in this age is given in the Brihad Naradiya Purana. Harinama, 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 Kevalam, Kalona, Stevana, 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 Yutiranita. Chant the holy names, chant the holy names, chant the holy names. There is no other alternative, there is no other alternative, there is no other alternative for God realization in this age of Kali. So surrender to Krishna in this age by chanting his name, not the demigod. The third offense is to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. It's pretty obvious. The spiritual master says, do this, you do that. He says, don't do that, you don't do that. It's simple thing. Number 4, to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. We should never see this literature as mundane. This is transcendental literature. This knowledge is coming from the kingdom of God. It is not ordinary speculative so-called knowledge like the scientists or the philosophers of this world. This is direct revelation of God. Therefore Krishna says, Raja Vidya. This is the king of education. He tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 2, Jnanam teham vigyanam. Jnanam teham savyagyanam aham. He says that this knowledge, I shall now declare to you this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous, this being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. So if you can understand this knowledge coming from Krishna, then you are the knower of everything. So one should never think this is some speculative imagination of some, ancient poets. This is direct revelation from God. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna the imagination. Well, those Hare Krishnas, they have all this hype about the benefits of chanting Hare Krishna. It's just hype to get us to join their organization. No. This is real. The name of Krishna is Krishna himself. But the power of this name, you become qualified and become a personal associate of Supreme. That's a fact. Number 6, to give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. The Sanskrit scholars will do that. Well, Krishna means black, and black means dark, and dark means ignorance. So, Krishna means ignorance. Avoid these rascal, mundane scholars. They have no access to this knowledge. They may try to lick the outside of the honey jar, but they can never get to the inside. You see. Only the devotee, one who is surrendered fully to Guru and Krishna, can stick his tongue in the honey inside that jar. Number 7, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. Well, I just really feel like going down tonight to the nightclub and picking up a chick, but I'm going to chance some extra rounds tomorrow to make up for it. No. Don't do like that. That's that's the greatest sin to think, well, I just have to fall down, but I'll chant extra rounds to make up for it. No. The holy name should not be used for your sense gratification. The holy name is for giving up sense gratification. Number 8, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas, the spirit of activity. The holy name is not for any material purpose, in other words. You should only utilize it to awaken the love of God within your heart. I think, well, I want my kids to do well in school, so I'll chant an extra round every day for my kids' education. That's not for us. If you want to do well in your education, then help them with their homework. But don't chant an extra round. Don't chant with the mentality, this is so my kids will make good grades in school. That's definitely not for us. Don't do like that. The name is for the love and love of God. That's what it's for. To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. Now someone may think, well, I didn't really like to go out and preach anyway, so this is my excuse. You're not supposed to instruct the faithless about the glories of the holy name. But Prabhupada elaborates, he says, anyone can take part in chanting the holy name of the Lord, but in the beginning, one should not be instructed about the transcendental potency of the Lord. Those who are too sinful cannot appreciate the transcendental glories of the Lord, and therefore it is better not to instruct them in this matter. For example, back in the heyday of the hippie era, Amsterdam in Europe was the headquarters of the hippies. So devotees were there preaching. And anytime they tried to explain the philosophy, all this blasphemy would come out of the hippies. Prabhupada said, don't preach then, just do kirtan. So you have to judge according to time, place, and audience. If people are becoming offensive, then you have to shift your strategy immediately. And Prabhupada told these devotees to do. You should just do the kirtan. If they can't hear philosophy, then just do the kirtan. So the idea is you instruct people to the extent that they can accept it and appreciate it. If they become blasphemous, then you have to back off. That's what this means. It doesn't mean not to preach. It means use your intelligence when you preach. To not cause people to commit blasphemy. You have to tell people on their level what they can relate to and understand. That's the point. Because Lord Chaitanya has instructed, Yadi Kaha Krishna Upadesh, preach to everybody. So you have to know how to preach to everybody in such a way that they are connected and they don't become offensive. And that means For the Madhyadhikari, it means, the devotee in the middle class, it means he has to distinguish between who is innocent and who is envious. If you try to preach to those people who just criticize Krishna, you're preaching to the wrong people. You need to preach to people who are open and want to learn and hear about Krishna. The 10th offense is not to have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name, and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions in this manner. For someone might say, but how can I give up my material attachments? How is it possible? How is it practical? It is practical. All you have to do is become more and more attached to Krishna. It's like a little kid, he's very attached to his teddy bear, isn't it? Some of you probably, here adults, you probably had teddy bears that you were very attached to when you were a little kid. In India, I don't know if they have teddy bears. You get the idea. But the adult, when you're a kid, you're really attached to our toys, right? Where are those toys now? Are you feeling depressed and devastated because you don't know where your fire truck is? As a little kid, you would have been devastated. My fire truck is missing. Or a car where you back the car over my fire truck and it's ruined. It'd be like the end of the world for a little kid, you see? But as an adult, who cares about my fire truck and my teddy bear? I have other things now I'm interested in. So Krishna consciousness is like that. You see, those material attachments that were the end-all and be-all of your existence, now they've been reduced to insignificance. Why? Because you have found a new love. You love your sense gratification, and you love all those facilitating your sense gratification. But now you've found a new love. You've found Krishna. That supreme, all-powerful, all-beautiful, all-renounced, all-knowledgeable, all-wealthy, all-famous personality, who's the source of all existence, who's all-pervading, within every atom, between every atom, at the same time, beyond the whole thing, simply playing his flute in Goloka Vrindavan, on the bank of the Jamuna, in the full moon night of the Shard season. Now you become a lover of Krishna. Or you're trying to become a lover of Krishna, seriously. Of course, we don't think we are lovers of Krishna. Even Lord Chaitanya said that. He said, I have no love for Krishna. And the proof is that now I'm maintaining my body and accepting the absence of Krishna. If I had any love of Krishna, because he is now not present before me, I would die in the pain of separation. The fact that I'm still living proves I have zero love for Krishna. So we never think we have love for Krishna. Lord Chaitanya says, I have no love for Krishna. We think I'm trying to develop my love for Krishna. I'm trying to awaken my love for Krishna by this process. So then there's the extra add-on. It is also offensive to be inattentive while chanting. There's different kinds of inattentiveness while chanting. One is called japa. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. How you doing? Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. How's everything going over there in Sydney? Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. See, you chat with somebody while you're doing your rounds. It's chatting and chanting at the same time. That's japa. That's very inattentive. Another one is Daipana japa. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. So if you're sleepy, sit straight, stand up, walk back and forth. Learn how to stay absorbed in the name. This is meditation. It's not just something you get over with. I just say this many repetitions and I finish with it. No. You have to dive into it. It's a tremendous meditation. You are connecting with God. You're going online with the Supreme Person. You're logging in to Golok to get a good connection. The broadest possible bandwidth you can get with Krishna. So the deeper you go into the mantra, that increases your bandwidth more and more and more and more. When your bandwidth gets wide enough, Your psychological bandwidth gets wide enough and Krishna will appear in front of you. You see? That Prabhupada actually ordered me like that. He said, now you just become qualified to see Krishna face to face. So don't be inattentive when chanting japa. You see? If some friend comes over and they're talking with you and you don't give them your attention, your mind is going somewhere else. What will they feel like? They say something to you, they feel like they're just talking to the wall and they're not even talking to you. So don't treat Krishna that way. You give Krishna your full attention. You're having your personal meeting with God every day. Give Krishna your full, undivided attention. And now's my time to meet with God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. So by avoiding these 10 senses, by following in the footsteps of the great acharyas, by being obedient to your spiritual master, then you will progress gradually through all the stages. Anartha and Vritti, getting all that dirt out of your heart, and then Nishta, becoming a solidly fixed up devotee. And then what happens? Ruchi. You get a very sweet taste from this process. The name is just so sweet. The offering of obeisances is so sweet. Scrubbing the pots for Krishna, sweeping the floor. Any devotional activity becomes so sweet, you could do that activity for millions of years and never get tired of it. That's the Ruchi stage. And then, what happens? Then you become totally attached to Krishna, completely addicted to Krishna. Totally addicted. Like Lord Chaitanya said, feeling your separation is like 12 years or more. The thought of not being connected to Krishna is absolutely intolerable. And then you become completely free of all contamination. You have eruptions of emotions within the heart, bhava, and then full-blown love of God and prema, where you're directly having exchange with Krishna, personal exchange with Krishna at every minute. It's a prema state. So this is your beginning. Now you're getting initiated. Now you have to stick with the process. Be good students. Do your homework. Your homework is those rounds, principles, instructions the spiritual master gives you. This is your homework. To serve the mission of Srila Prabhupada. The spiritual master is giving you as your life's mission to make Prabhupada's mission a success. That's your mission. So take this very seriously. Take it as the most important vow you've ever made in your whole life, and never deviate. And in this way you'll become perfect in Krishna consciousness. So now, we'll move on to the next phase.